just as the unemployment rate is dropping. Is Capitol Hill signaling tax hikes are coming? Add up the signs. A key conservative leaving the Senate for the private sector as House Republicans reportedly cook up a doomsday plan that would give the president the tax hikes he wants. So if taxes go up, will jobs go down? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. Let's get right to it. Here they are, the Bulls and Bears this week. We've got Gary V. Smith, Tobin Smith, Jonas Max Ferris, along with Todd Schoenberger and Julian Epstein. Welcome to everybody. Okay, Todd, if taxes go up, get ready for that unemployment rate to shoot up too?
You got that right, Brenda. It's not only going to go higher. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of jobs that will be eliminated because of higher taxes. You just simply look at small business owners. Small businesses comprise of 2/3 of all jobs created in this country over the last 10 years. If you're going to raise that personal income tax, the tax that's going to hit those small business owners, they won't have enough money to go out and hire. We all have to be prepared because the labor picture is going to get really fragile real quick.
Julian, you agree?
No, and at a certain point on this show and elsewhere, we just have to stop uttering opinions and start using facts. I mean, the most definitive study that has been done on this, one that by the nonpartisan agency that Republicans and Democrats agree to be the ultimate authority, is the Congressional Budget Office. They looked at this question and they found that raising the rates on the top 2% will have virtually no impact on GDP and virtually no impact on job formation. The Republicans in Congress didn't like that study, so they asked the CRS, the Congressional Research Service, to review the data and come up with their own conclusions. And guess what? The CRS looked at this and said the same thing, that it will have almost no impact on job creation, almost no impact on GDP formation. Almost all of the economists seem to be unanimous about this, that the Obama plan, which raises the rates on the top 2%, let me finish the point, that the Obama plan, which raises the rates on the top 2%, will have virtually no impact on job formation.
Okay, I resemble your remark about facts and opinions. We have both of them on this show.
Well, let's hear the data.
Gary B., you go right to it.
Well, Julian has his study, and, the other side has another study, Ernst & Young.
No, they don't.
Did a study.
Ernst & Young report.
Julian, you got to let me finish, okay? They had a study say raising the taxes on the rich would cost 700,000 jobs. The CBO, which Julian likes, said that just if we allowed all the Bush tax cuts to not expire, and the AMT, the alternative minimum tax, would be addressed, that's 1.8 million jobs. So no matter how you cut it, even if we just looked anecdotally, which I know Julian doesn't like, Julian's a wealthy guy. He earns a lot of money. If he's going to have less money to his bottom line next year, I guarantee Julian will have to cut back on the landscaping that he does and probably the guy that drives his car and all that other stuff. It just doesn't make sense from whether you look at the numbers or whether you look anecdotally. It doesn't make sense that people's bottom line will be cut and there'll be no jobs lost. There obviously will be jobs lost.
There's a huge problem with it, besides the fact that I don't have someone that drives my car. There's a huge problem. Let me just point out,
Julian, hold on a minute.
I've
got other people to go to, okay? I will get back to you, and we only tease you because we like you, okay? Now, Jonas, any attempt to shrink the debt is going to hurt the economy in the short run, isn't it?
Definitely, and you can't fit a driver in a smart car, and that's part of the problem. I will say, both studies are right. There's CBO studies of over 1 million people, and there's ones that are less, because, to Julian's point, if we just raise the tax at the high end, which is not enough tax revenue to close the huge deficits we're running, that might not have a huge effect on the economy. However, if taxes across the board, and let's not forget the spending cuts that are automatic in the defense industry alone is looking at hundreds of thousands of job cuts next year if those mandatory cuts go into effect. I'm not saying they are. So it's both the cutting and the taxing, because we're getting too focused on where the tax. Bottom line, to your point, the government takes money out of the system by cutting spending and or raising taxes and runs a smaller deficit. That means people are going to be out of work almost by definition in the short run. But in the long run, it's a healthier economy that doesn't go down the path of Greece. If running a deficit was a great plan in the long run, Greece would have very low unemployment right now, but they do not. So, yes, we are going to go probably back over 8% if it all happens, the worst case scenario. But in 5 years, we won't be not able to borrow money.
Okay, Julian, you can go ahead and respond.
Well, first of all, the Ernst & Young study has been debunked over and over. But to Toby's other point, it's true. If you let the Bush tax cuts, expire, the CRS study was a Republican study, guys, and they found the same thing as CBO. If you let the Bush tax cuts expire on everybody, including the million tax, then yes, you would have some negative economic impact. But the two most definitive studies that have been done recently, including the one that the Republicans asked for, show that on those top two rates, the top 2%, if you let the rates go up, you have virtually no impact. To Jonas's point, Jonas makes exactly the right point that if you raise taxes a lot and cut spending a lot, the so-called austerity plan, yes, you will have a negative economic impact, but that was the Republican conservative approach in 2011. Democrats were for putting more money into the economy with a stimulus. Republicans wanted austerity. So Jonas's point is directly an argument against what conservatives were pushing for.
All right, Toby.
What's the question? I forgot.
Can you fit a driver in a smart car?
Okay. Look, we did a survey of 1,500 small business people who are more in the 2%, in other words, that have revenue or earnings more than $500,000. I would say that the actual statistics that we got said that the decision they were going to make on their business was much more about healthcare cost, Obamacare, than it was on the marginal rate going up. Because a small business person can manipulate that number like nobody's business. That's one of the advantages of taking risk and being a small business person. But on the Obamacare side, we had probably 75% of people said that they would affect their hiring, and that was a much bigger issue than just the marginal rates.
And Todd, in fact, we are seeing many polls come out that show that small business owners right now are starting to cut back. They're not spending as much.
That's right. Look, in the jobs report for November, if you look, 57% of the jobs created were of the seasonal variety, the low wage workers. So going forward, you can only suspect that those jobs will eventually end up hitting the unemployment line. But more importantly, small business owners are staying away from hiring right now for various reasons: lack of demand, but they can't access credit, and they also understand that the tax implications that they're going to have to face going forward just doesn't make a lot of sense to go out and hire.
Jonas?
I don't think we should worry about a small increase in taxes and the unemployment rate, which might be
at the marginal rate.
If it guarantees the long-term solvency of the nation and the Treasury. So that's the goal here. If we try to close all the loops in 1 year, then we'll have a very high unemployment rate. Some tax increases, to Julian's point, will only lead to mild increases in unemployment rate.
Okay, Julian?
Well, look, I mean, the conservative argument was that if Obama got reelected, the markets would tank, the jobs numbers would be terrible. We had excellent jobs numbers that were reported yesterday morning. When Obama came into office, remember, we were at negative 9%. Negative 9 GDP growth. Everyone said the stimulus would fail. We're now at about 2.7, according to the Commerce Department, 2.7% GDP right now. So GDP is in probably somewhere between positive 11, positive 12 swing.
Okay.
So, everyone keeps talking about how this Obama plan isn't going to work, how it isn't going to work. But the data seems to show the difference, which is to President Clinton's point. If you want to live like a Republican, vote for a Democrat because they'll give you better economics.
Okay.
Brenda.
Gary B., go ahead. Give your facts.
Julian's very good at raising the straw man. I don't recall everyone saying the market was going to tank if Obama's reelected. So to state that and say, oh, well, it didn't tank, that's kind of silly. The other thing is, every time the tax rate has been tried to really stick it to the rich, when we had 91% tax rates during FDR's years when they tried to stick it to the rich, it's failed miserably, and they've gone back and ended up lowering the rate. So it was such a good idea. I'd look for historical examples of where it worked. It hasn't worked. If Julian wants so much the Clinton tax rates, that's fine. I'll go along with that if we had the Clinton-era government spending, which we don't.
Okay.